Public education in the United States is in crisis. The data is undeniable, and while I don't think it's a surprise to most Americans, the reason it's happening is not what most people think. American education used to be relatively average and comparable to other developed countries. For most of the 20th century, something called the Flynn effect was observed. Each generation performed better than the last on measures of cognitive ability. Not because people suddenly became smarter, but because the environment around them improved. That trend has not only stalled, it's reversed. We're not simply stagnating, we're going backwards. Math scores have dropped enough to erase about 2 decades of progress. Reading scores are now at the lowest point in over 30 years of measurement. And about a third of students in this country hardly even come to school. They are what we call chronically absent or truant. Listen, everybody can list plenty of problems in the world today, but I don't think people fully understand how serious this problem is or what the implications are. Take it from me, I've been working in education for about 12 years now, taught in different countries, in different systems, both public and private, well-funded and underfunded. The past several years I've been a school leader. Currently I run operations for 3 schools in Seattle. What's happening here, and in most of the United States, is not success. It's very far from it. When I talk to people about this, though, even within education, they tend to think that it's due to a lack of funding. But really, they couldn't be more wrong. The United States already spends among the most per student in the world. There is a lot of money in education, private and public. And I'm not saying that we shouldn't pay teachers more or that funding is equitable, but the problem is not simply funding. It's not even close. It's incredibly frustrating to see American schools consistently decay despite being rich, while others work miracles from nearly nothing. One year I taught English in a public school in rural China. We're talking about one of the poorest provinces in the entire country. It was about 60 students per class, all divided up by a ranking system. It definitely wasn't ideal. The discipline and the demand on students was high, but any of those kids would breeze through school here as if they were on vacation. Their English teacher, though, hardly spoke a word of the language, forcing kids to simply copy American papers word for word without much attention to what the words meant or how to pronounce them. Most of their English acquisition came through additional effort they put in after long school days. It's because they wanted it. At the end of the year, I had an idea. I'd get all of these kids to write a letter to a student of the same age in the United States, and they loved it. They poured their hearts and souls into it, and when I got home, I went to my old high school and got in contact with one of my old teachers, and she agreed to help. So we exchanged the letters. But when I got the American letters, I was ashamed. It was sad. The Chinese students had beautiful penmanship, yet many of the American letters were illegible. Their spelling, even their grammar, was worse than the Chinese students, but in their own native language. So, it's obvious we have a problem here. And if it's not simply funding, what is it? I believe the answer lies in greater society. I mean, just look at the street outside one of the schools I work at. This is literally a video I took next to one of them. Students walk through this daily to get to and from school. Our educational system is just a smaller echo of our society as a whole. How does one of the wealthiest societies in history increase its wealth while we see a rise in scenes like this? Throwing money at it doesn't help, just like in education. California spent at least $24 billion on homelessness recently, yet homelessness has only increased. Our educational problem is similar. But at some point, we can't look to greater society. We need to be a little bit more pragmatic. We have to start looking at what's actually happening inside schools if we're going to fix this at the school level. And inside, there's a growing gap between what students are capable of and what they actually produce. And it's not the kids' fault either. Go into the average American high school and you'll find that kids are still kids. That hasn't changed, but everything around them has. At the same time, we're diagnosing more students than ever with things like ADHD and other forms of neurodivergence. We're prescribing medications at a much higher rate, often with the intention of helping students focus and succeed. Counselors are readily available to help students through their emotional struggles. You would expect a generation that is more focused, more capable, more balanced, and outperforming the generations before it. Yet this generation is the first to underperform its predecessor. So, at the very least, something isn't working the way we thought it would, academically. But it's well beyond academics. The problem is not simply that. Look at something as basic as school lunches. Usually the food being served is garbage. Highly processed, focusing simply on meeting the mandatory nutritional requirements at the cheapest possible price. And it tastes like it too. Compare that to countries like Japan, where school meals are treated as part of the educational experience. Balanced, fresh, a real meal. Here, we'll literally serve Pop-Tarts for breakfast. Of course, that has to come with like a little apple, probably chock full of pesticides, and a carton of milk. It all reflects the same mindset. We go through the motions. We check the box, but we don't take it seriously. You see it in academics. You see it in something as fundamental as nutrition. We're failing. Not just the students, of course, but ourselves and generations to follow. And the longer that we pretend that this isn't happening, the worse it gets. Again, this isn't just about schools. It's about the kind of people that we're raising. It's about the society that we're making, the future that we're heading toward. And right now, we are not moving in a good direction. But this is fixable. We don't have to guess what works. We've seen it before, both in our own past and in other countries today. And even here in the United States, there are places moving forward in the right direction. One state in particular has gone against the trend and proven that if we actually decide to take this seriously, things can improve. It's called the Mississippi Miracle. You see, Mississippi used to rank near the bottom nationally in reading. Around the early 2010s, they made a series of very focused, unglamorous changes, mostly centered on how reading is taught. First, they adopted a science of reading approach, which means explicit instructions in phonics, vocabulary, and comprehension. They passed a law requiring students to pass a reading benchmark by the end of third grade to move on. That created real accountability early, when intervention is most effective. And the results are clear. Mississippi went from near the bottom to around the national average, and in some cases above it, in fourth grade reading scores. More notably, their lowest performing students improved the most. And the takeaway, of course, isn't that Mississippi fixed education. It's that targeted, consistent changes, especially in early literacy, can produce real gains, even in a state with high poverty and limited resources. So, we know it can be done. We don't really have any excuses. We've seen it here, we've seen it around the world, we've seen it in places with far fewer resources than we have. which means that this isn't about ability. It's not about money. It's not about the kids. It's about whether we are willing to take it seriously. And right now, we're not acting like it. We're avoiding hard conversations. We're lowering the expectations. We're doing damage control instead of solving problems. And the longer that continues, the deeper this gets. At some point, we have to decide what we actually want from education. Do we want students to feel successful or be successful? Do we want to protect them from struggle or prepare them for reality? Because right now we're trying to do both and we're failing at both. And that has consequences, not just for test scores or for schools, but for all of us, for the kind of adults that we send out into the world. And once they are out there, it's too late to fix it. All right, thanks for watching.